can get started. Before we start, Jess just wanted to say a few words. Jess?
Yeah, I just heard about the passing of Howard Friendrich from the AP and just wanted to send my condolences to him and his family and his friends and everything. I'm glad that he was back home, but he's someone that I always look forward to talking to in press. And sometimes there's few people that I feel like that. So I miss seeing Howard here and just sending my prayers to his family.
All right, we'll get started. Jess, welcome back to Paris. Just talk us about your preparations and how things are going so far.
So far, so good. Nice to see some sunny weather here in Paris. It was very, very cold when I first got here. So that's been really nice, but excited to get going. I feel like this week has really kind of flown by with practice, and we're already almost underway. So, yeah, excited.
All right, who'd like the first question? Matt? Yeah.
Good to see you here. So I know there's been a lot of talk, obviously, about with the position that you guys have today in terms of relationships to the tournament and the future of prize money. A lot of the focus and a lot of the things that people are saying is that it's not just about the top players, that it's about the players lower down. But on the top players, I mean, you know, in a world where quarterbacks are getting $60 million and guys in the NBA are getting $50 million a year, like, should the top players also be getting bigger prize money as well?
I think that the prize money in general, yeah, as it keeps growing, I think top players who are winning and selling tickets, of course, should be rewarded for bringing in those fan bases as well. But like you said, we're more worried about the ecosystem of the sport, like as a whole, not seeing it maybe be so top heavy. You know, like US Open raised it last year, which was great, but it was all at the very top, which is, again, not really what we're looking for when we're talking about, you know, the stuff that we've been doing with the slams and why we're here today and, you know, only doing the 15-minute thing. So, I mean, I think, of course, the top earners and performers of our sport should be, yeah, making what they have earned, for sure. But again, you know, the whole point is to help the ecosystem of the sport, and that's the lower ranked players and giving them a chance to have a good career, to have chances to break through, and to see more of those stories happen.
First, thanks for the nice words about Howard. And secondly, just this is a day, obviously, where a lot of players are getting asked about this, and you've obviously been deeply involved in sort of player affairs for a long time. How has it been getting people on the same page, getting the messaging clear across, you know, all these players on both tours? Like, what's the sort of, you know, coordination effort been like, and how successful do you think it's been so far that people are going to be on message the way you hope they will be?
I think in tennis, that's the hardest thing, is getting everybody on the same page, but as far as what's happened today, I think it's been really easy to coordinate through everybody. I mean, just tell players they don't have to do as much media, and I think you can get them on the same page pretty fast. But of course, it's always difficult. We're all playing at different times, practicing at different times. The schedule, again, we're each on our own individual schedule, which tends to not be at the same time. So I think, yeah, it's been fairly easy, like I said, with getting players to do less media. That one caught on pretty quickly. So, yeah, not a lot of trouble with that.
Hey, just then kind of a similar subject. How, like, obviously there was talk of boycotts in Rome and everything, but in general, I'm curious, how willing do you think players would be to do things that make them uncomfortable, that things that maybe kind of are sacrifices in a way in order to kind of achieve these aims? Like, I mean, for example, with the press conferences, I guess you could have chosen not to do them at all and kind of almost dare Roland-Garros to fine you. So how comfortable do you feel players would be doing things like that?
I think every player's comfort level is always a bit different. So you kind of have to bridge the gap and find that balance of what everyone's willing to do. I think seeing the top players speak out, especially in Rome, I think that more other players kind of will follow in line with what other top players are doing. I think that's why it was so important for us to get the top players all on the same page. And I think most of us are, but again, scheduling conversations, it's difficult to align everybody just with all of our schedules. So I think in that turn of seeing a lot of tennis players, top players come together, you know, I think the other players, it's easier for them to follow because you feel like, okay, we're all part of this together. It's a little bit different when you have an outlier of one person, and, you know, you just have another person following you. It's kind of like, you know, people don't want to necessarily put themselves out there for that. But again, when you saw with Arena and Yannick kind of stepping out and being leaders to that and kind of just saying what needs to be said, all of a sudden you kind of saw the collective like unity very quickly. So I think that was really great. But like I said, everyone has a different comfort level. So, I mean, I've tried to do my best with talking to a lot of the top players just to see what that is. Some people, you don't want to force them to do anything, but I think you just want to educate them, talk to them, talk about what's going on and just see where they fall, and then see if you can come up with something where you can all kind of meet in the middle, I guess I would say, and that's kind of what happened with today.
How did this particular idea come about? Like, whose suggestion was it? And do you have in your mind what the kind of natural next step from this would be?
Well, I mean, I think we're always thinking of ideas. Obviously, Arena said boycott. That was more of an extreme kind of stance. And then, the people are the players. We've kind of come up with different ways of what we could all do that's feasible, that's easy to do before a slam, that, that type of stuff. But what was your second question?
How this particular idea came about?
How this
idea was it?
Yeah. I think it just came amongst, Larry Scott, the guy that we've been working with, and kind of just finding a middle ground of what we can do together that's feasible. Like I said, the week before a slam, that's capable. If you try to talk about more extreme circumstances and then all of a sudden, like, people aren't on board and you can't get anything to happen. So again, it's like finding that meet in the middle of things that are possible and doable all in a busy week before a slam.
All right, Courtney, just raise your hand so they see you.
Hey, Jess. In terms of just the tournament, the draws, obviously you're an analyst now because you're a podcaster. How do you see kind of the men's draw, obviously, everybody's kind of wondering, how do you stop one person, given the momentum Yannick has? And then what seems like one of the more open Roland-Garroses that we've seen on the women's side, with you in the conversation as well. How do you kind of break these things down? And secondly, from the Yannick side, like, what is it like to be in a draw where, because we've maybe had this in the past with Iga, where it does feel like there's a crew that's trying to stop what seems like an inevitable?
Yeah, the Yannick problem, I don't have an answer for that. I wish, I don't think anybody does. That's a tough one. I think I myself am just like stumped kind of by just the level that he's been able to put on. And then now with Carlos not playing, you're kind of looking like the inevitable is going to happen. Obviously, the thing about this sport is anything can happen. Anything's possible. You never know what's going to happen in a match or what's going to unfold. And if he's going to stay healthy the entire tournament, now going to 3 out of 5, there's a lot of other factors. So yeah, that is, I'm not sure I have an answer for that, but I think he's obviously the favorite, and he's been playing, the best tennis in the world, and just been, it's hard to put into words, honestly. Like, we've talked about on the podcast, and we're all just kind of like, we don't really know what to say. It's just pretty incredible. So, and, it's funny, and you see that we used to say this with Novak, and you're like, oh, no one's going to do this again. And now you're kind of like, well, someone's already starting to do it again. And it's crazy how, these players come into a draw and things can change. So to the women's side, it seems a bit more open, just with different results on the clay, with Alina winning Rome, Marta winning Madrid. It seems like there's a lot of favorites that could win in a way. There's a lot of people playing good tennis, myself included. And then obviously Arena's, I think, record in Grand Slams has been probably the best, but you have Alina playing really well. Coco obviously loves to play well here. So there's definitely a lot of, I think, space for someone to win, which makes it, I think, fun. Maybe less stressful if I was a guy, knowing that that I had to somehow take down Yannick. But it's a bit more open, which I think is really exciting for women's tennis, because there's a lot of really good players right now that are able to possibly break through and win a title, or at least challenge, the top players.
Hi, Jess. Speaking of that same subject, does it feel completely different this year in terms of the openness? Because last year we were here and Iga was a 3-time champion, going to be the first one to win 4 in a row in like 100 years. And how do you feel about her aura, what's happened to it, and how that opens up things for all the women in the field?
I think that those few years with Iga on clay was definitely was tough, because she was the best clay court player, that we had. and she was so dominant on it. So, I mean, I don't know if she's lost any aura. She's still an amazing Grand Slam champion, multiple Grand Slam champion, has won on all the surfaces and everything. So that's always going to be there. I think, when you play a lot, people are training to kind of figure you out and trying to figure out how to beat you. And I think when you're that good and you're that much higher, like what was happening with Yannick, is that all these girls started looking at how to beat her. And so I think the depth probably maybe got a little bit better as well. And she, maybe just wasn't as confident a few times here and there, a few matches, and that can always sway. But I mean, she's so young, and I think there's always going to be ebbs and flows in a career. And so, I mean, she's already been a great champion. So at the same time, she's not as dominant as those years, but I don't know if you'd really want to play her here as well, knowing her experience here. Last question? Sure. I like doing that.
I think Matt up the back was first in. Yeah. Sorry.
Hi, Jessie. Just going back to the media action today, it seems like you've obviously been in conversation with the fellow top players, but you've kind of all talked about how you're kind of doing it really for the lower ranked players. What's the comms like between you and those lower ranked players? Because they today seem maybe a little bit less on message than the top players.
I think that the next step would be probably creating like a better communication with them. I mean, I still have communication with some, people are moving up and down the rankings like all the time. So there's definitely communication there, but what we've really just been focused on is getting more of the top players, because we feel that would kind of make the most noise, so to speak. But like you said, we're doing this for the whole sport. I mean, it may seem like, oh, we're just, asking for more money, or why are the top players complaining? But at the same time, like, these people want to hear us talk. So we're trying to basically use our voices and maybe the more media presence that we get to, again, see the ecosystem of the sport is going to continue building and growing. And by that, we've said the revenue share needs to be higher, player welfare needs to be higher, and that will, in return, help a lot of lower ranked players. So I think next steps would definitely be to build up that communication with them for sure. But right now, obviously, just trying to get us all on the same page and showing that unity on the men's and women's side was our focus. But I would say that the communication is still good with them. I don't think it's it's not bad or anything.